Sarah Walton. Well, with us now is Peter Kirkham, former Metropolitan Police detective. Thank you very much for coming in. How would you characterise the nature of these protests and the type of policing that's necessary?
It's a type of protest we don't see very often. Usually people want to smash things up, they want to attack the police, they want to go to places they're not allowed to go, and that's relatively simple for the police to deal with because the laws and the powers are there to prevent violence and to prevent criminal damage. But where you've just got an obstruction of the highway, being a nuisance basically, the powers really aren't there. The only powers the police have really got is the Section 14 of the Public Order Act, where they can put conditions on an assembly and basically say move away, and in this case they've said go to Marble Arch and you can't be here. But of course, if they say, well, you know, make us, but not actively resist, they're just going floppy like you've seen them do, and it takes 3 or 4 officers to carry each one away. They then have to be transported somewhere. The Met's only got 600, 700 cells these days, and obviously routine policing's carrying on anyway, and they're usually full. The courts are full, the CPS are full, the prisons are full. They couldn't send them to prison anyway because the breach of Section 14 as a protester is a fine-only offence. So there is no power to deal with this. You
mentioned the obstruction of the highway. We can show our viewers these live pictures. These are not far away from our building, of course, just between here and Oxford Circus, and there's that pink yacht that says "Tell the Truth." A lot of police around that, and we're just sort of wondering whether they're going to try and in some way move that on this afternoon, because these people seem very determined. Nearly 600 people arrested, but very few of them charged. Why have they been arrested?
They've been arrested to try and resolve the problem, but of course we've seen them just replaced or been released and then come straight back.
So why do the police need to be there then, if there's not really very much to police?
Yeah, I mean, from the point of view of what the protesters are doing, yeah, there's not a need for policing. But it was naive of the lady that was shouting from the top of the boat there, saying,
Emma Thompson,
why are the police here? Well, she should maybe stick to acting instead of telling the police how to do their job. The bottom line is, whilst that is there are people that do not think that this amount of disruption should take place, so the police have got to be concerned about it all kicking off with people getting involved to try and move them on themselves, a bit of vigilante sort of stuff. There are people that are not associated with the protests that are coming down who may have ulterior motives, and so the police have got to be ready for that. So it's inevitable if you do something on this scale, as well as managing the public and the traffic around it, they've got to be there in case of various what-ifs.
How much of a strain on resources is it
massive,
for the Met?
Absolutely massive. After 9 years of cuts to the police service, 22,000 officers, more members of civil staff and PCSOs taken away, the police struggle to do routine policing every day. They have now gone on to 12-hour shifts on divisions. They've had leave cancelled. That'll all have to be taken on another day somewhere. As I walked down here today, I passed officers from 3 knife crime hotspots in London: North East London, West London, South Central London. They're here, they're not in their boroughs where there's a knife crime problem. We saw it the other day when Operation Shutdown did a demonstration, much smaller scale, on Westminster Bridge. They were inner London, working class families, disproportionately black, saying our kids are getting killed, please do something. And you contrast that with this, which is a much longer term sort of thing, but it's drawing officers in. There's probably kids, there are kids at risk in the outer London boroughs now because of this, and some unfortunately will be stabbed and killed, that may have been possible to be prevented if police had been in those boroughs. So it's a massive, massive impact. Before we even get into welfare and cost.
What pressure could the Home Secretary bring to bear on the Met to clear this away? Because he has said, we want you to use the full force of the law.
Yeah, he has. Strange, when it comes to knife crime, he keeps saying, oh, well, we can't arrest our way out of this problem, and tries to keep suggesting the police have got nothing to do with it. Because
but isn't that partly to do with community relations?
No, it's partly to do with the fact they know damn well that they have cut the police service, and that has left our streets less safe. Funny how we can't arrest our way out of a knife crime epidemic, but he seems to think we can arrest our way out of this. We can't. We can't. The politicians have, it's now caught up with them. They have realised they have hollowed out the police service to the point where it's got no contingency capacity and no resilience. It cannot deal with this and maintain business as usual.
But if you can't arrest your way out of the knife crime issue, a lot of people would say, well, that's not the way to deal with it. These are more fundamental issues to do with what's going on within families, within communities.
Of course, but policing is part of that. They're trying to suggest that it's nothing to do with policing, because if they said that police have got a role in it, someone would ask, well, why have you cut the police? And they're desperate to do that for knife crime, and yet here we are, oh, well, the police need to arrest their way out of this problem. They can't do it.
It's nice weather this weekend.
It's lovely weather.
If it rained, I think it'd be different out there.
PC rain always helps, but I think some of the dedicated, well, it was certainly the day trippers, if you like, but the dedicated, the core of it, I don't think that would have any effect on them. The government must realise that they have hollowed out the police service and it cannot deal with business as usual, let alone any contingency issues like this. They need to address that fundamental fact. One of the protesters said yesterday, we're succeeding because the hollowed out state can't cope anymore. We've overwhelmed it. And in terms of policing, that is absolutely true.
Peter Kirkham, former Metropolitan Police Detective, thank you.
Thank you.